Hello friends, welcome to the With Yarn and Friend podcast. This is episode 5. Hello everybody, hello crafters. I hope you are all well. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer, and if you're new to the podcast, welcome. I'm so glad you're here today. You will notice that we're in a little bit of a different location in the house. I have a large crafting table kind of set up in my other location, and it's covered with lots of crafty things that I'm working on for the holiday season. So we moved today's location. So as you can tell, I needed some festive holiday cheer in my life recently. So I put up my tree. It's not decorated yet. So if you're vehemently opposed to putting up your Christmas tree early, I get it. That's totally you. Just consider this like a winter forest tree then. So I was desperately in need of some twinkle lights. And so, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I've been listening to Christmas music and using my Christmas holiday mugs. I took those out and I put up my Christmas tree. So welcome. We are about halfway through November, and it's been about 3 weeks since we last chatted. And if you're hearing all of the jingling in the background, I apologize. All right, sorry, I had to take a little pause there to get Grace settled. She's not used to me filming in her space. This is normally her space to hang out during the day. So again, welcome back. Welcome to episode 5. So today I thought we would start with a little bit of my favorite things. So I have some finished objects to share with you, but I'm not wearing any of my knits. It's actually quite warm here. We've been like reaching highs of the 70s the last couple of days. So I didn't think I'd put on some knits, but I did want to share. I got a new mug. Isn't this glorious? This is from Anthology, one of my favorite places to buy mugs. I used to love to buy clothes there. Their clothes got a little too, I don't know, just not my style. But I do still love their home decor. You can see in the inside, it's also got that beautiful kind of border along the inside as well. And it's got all these owls, and I love owls. So they're right up there with squirrels for me as far as spirit animals and animals that I love. And I'm currently drinking Orange and Spice from Bigelow. And I thought that this was very appropriate, the little message on the tag, which says, settling is not an option. And boy, if I have not learned that in the last few years. So it took me a while to get there in my life to realize that settling is not an option. But when I did, boy, it was a life changer. So good advice from Bigelow this morning. I also wanted to share before we move on a couple of things. One thing that I forgot in my last podcast, and I feel so bad about it, excuse me, is that JJ from Jessel and Janice, who donated the beautiful bags for the giveaway, and by the way, the giveaway prizes have made it to their owners and safe and sound, and so I'm very happy about that. They seem to be very happy and enjoying those prizes, so I hope you all are planning beautiful makes with that yarn. Okay. So JJ from Jessel and Janice, who donated the bags for our giveaway, did leave me a discount code to share with you all. I did put it on my Instagram, and I put it as an announcement here on YouTube, but I did not announce it on the last podcast. So JJ, first of all, I apologize. I'm so sorry that I didn't do that, but I'm going to put her logo up here with a little bit of information about the discount. So the discount code, and I'm going to read this to you here so I get it right, is with yarn 15, all one word together, no spaces. So with yarn 15, and that is good for 15% off anything in her shop through February 2nd of 2023. So that gives you plenty of time to use that discount code. The holidays are coming up. If you're looking to buy some holiday gifts, she's got some beautiful bags. She also is starting to dye her own yarn. So that is very exciting. And remember, a portion of all of her sales goes to her local animal rescue. So what better cause than that, right? So also remember that Small Business Saturday is coming up here pretty soon. So this is a huge month for me work-wise with Black Friday sales, Small Business Saturday sales, and Cyber Monday, all of that. It's a big revenue month, so it's been a big push for the company that I work for, and I'm sure for a lot of other companies. And it's also kind of top of mind. We have holiday season gifting to do. I know a lot of people are cutting back this year, which we all are, because, you know, we just don't know where things are going. I will have to say, though, that in my acquisition section, you're going to be like, yeah, right, you're cutting back. But I did buy almost all of those things much previously. They've just all come in. So so JJ, Jessel and Janice, 15% off anything in her shop with the code WITHYARN15. And I will have the link below in the description box to take you out there to her shop as well. So Jesselyn, thank you, or JJ, thank you so much for supporting the podcast and for providing that discount code. All right, the last thing that I wanted to share just before we get started and I share some finished objects, and yes, I do have some finished objects this week, is, you know, I don't do project pages on Ravelry. I spend so much time on the computer during the day for work that really the last thing that I want to do is spend even more time categorizing and plugging stuff into Ravelry. So I really just use that for pattern acquisitions, really. And I'm also trying to buy more from other places as well, like Lovecrafts, and directly from pattern designers that way as well. But reality is Ravelry is the biggest depository of patterns, and I do have a ton of patterns on my Ravelry page that I am planning on really digging into next year. We'll talk more about that in a future episode, but I do have some plans, and I'm hoping you guys will help hold me accountable too for next year. But I did want to share kind of where I do keep my projects, because I do keep notes. I keep my projects kind of organized in a journal that I made. My mom and I, we both follow Candy Shop Yarns, Deborah from Candy Shop Yarns, and her sister Emily, who is Salt City Knits, and they have a podcast, or they did have a podcast. It's kind of on pause right now, but it was the two of them together, and I'm totally blanking on the name right now, but I will put it on the screen when I remember it, so I apologize for that. They have taken a pause from doing the podcast together, but Deborah from Candy Shop Yarns does have a podcast that she just started recently by herself, so I encourage you to go check her out. Her yarns, number one, are beautiful, and number two, she's just a joy to sit and knit with as she shares her projects. So one of the things that they shared, though, on their Meanwhile at the Castle, that's the name of their podcast. So Meanwhile at the Castle, they're actually the ones who taught me how to knit socks originally. They have an excellent tutorial series, either on DPNs or circulars, to learn how to knit socks. And that's how I knit my first pair of socks. I basically just followed along, and I loved it. I thought it was amazing, and obviously I'm still knitting socks, and it gave me a really good foundation to start from. So Meanwhile at the Castle with Emily and Deborah, they did an episode where they kind of shared making junk journals, but Deborah got Emily involved in it, but actually they called them treasure journals, which I love even better than junk journals. And so my mom and I really love that, and we thought, hey, let's give it a go. So basically the premise is you get like an old antique book and you cover it with fabric, stickers. You can make little hanging things off of it. And so, and then you create pages to put inside. And then on those pages, you journal with them. And oh, I just lost some yarn, but that's okay. I'll put it back in there later. So basically when I'm working on a project or I start a project, I will take the little bits that you cut off when you winded, and I'll save those to put in here as part of like a reminder of what I'm working on. So so this is my junk journal. So you can see I took some old, this was from a handkerchief that I have a fairly large collection of vintage embroidered handkerchiefs. This was just kind of like a die cut sticker. We used some gold leafing because I love gold, this little ribbon, which I thought was beautiful. And then I used this other ribbon kind of to glue it on, and you just kind of decorate the cover. You rip out the insides and you kind of gut it, and then you fill it back in with pages that you kind of bind and sew together. And it's a little bit of a process, but I just found some YouTube videos on making these books and kind of followed along, and we just kind of had some fun and did it our own. So you can see this is my in the moment. I left the regular spine, so I thought this was really an appropriate name for the shape of a year. And we just found these at like our used bookstore or Goodwill or wherever. So obviously you probably don't want to use a brand new book unless you aren't going to read it, but you can find old books that you can then cover and turn into beautiful things. So then I kind of, just took some other pieces that I had to kind of decorate the inside, stickers, more of that vintage embroidered kind of, what would this be? Handkerchiefs. And then I made a main page. So this is, just a little smattering of some of the things that I've done or kind of worked on throughout the years. So this is my Scotch broom sweater. I was doing weaving for a little while. I've got some socks on here, So just, you know, a random thing. I do some different projects as well. And coming up in a future episode, I'll show you some of the other projects, crafty things that I'm working on. But right now for this episode is primarily knitting. So anyway, I use just stickers. I love paper crafting and that sort of thing. So one of the first things I did last year was I had the Nora George advent. So, you know, I took a picture of all of the advents. Actually, I think this is from her Instagram. And I have just one of those little mini printers. I think it's the Canon Ivy. And so, you know, the pictures aren't the greatest, but, you know, you can just basically take whatever you've got on your phone. You can take screenshots or take your own pictures and then print them out. So this is, you know, in progress of that shawl. I made the Adventurous wrap. I think it's by Amba O'Brien. So this is me kind of working through the colors in that advent. This came with, this piece right here was a part of the advent. It came in the box. So I, you know, held that out and I cut it out and put it on some other paper, and, you know, just make these little holders kind of where you can slide things in. And then, you know, I've got my notes down here at the bottom about the project. So, you know, as I'm working on projects, I will put them in here and kind of keep track of them. My deconstructed fade socks. This is the shawl that I wore. I believe it was in the first episode that I finished. This is the Cowboys and Angels shawl. And I do like to include bits of the yarn as I go, if I have them. So, you know, I'll just do a little bit of a flip through. These were my Christmas socks that I started on Christmas Eve last year, the Twinkling Trees socks, and I printed out, or I cut out the top of the pattern where it kind of describes Danny of Little Bobbins. She was the one that designed these. Kind of her process, or, you know, kind of her thought process behind designing the socks. So you can make little pockets, and then obviously I've got the yarn here that I used to make those socks, and more notes, and then kind of a picture of the finished project there. So yeah, I just got, you know, little things. I'm going to show you my progress on this sweater that I've been working on for a while now. This is my Chevron. I'm calling it my slubby sweater because it's using slub, but it's the Stowaway Chevron pullover by Olive. I want to say Olive Knits. Now I can't remember, but so yeah, so it's just really fun. I'm much more of an analog when it comes to writing, and so for me, this really works to keep track of my project. Okay, so I got cut off again because I got an Amber Alert on my phone. It's like the episode of interruptions. But anyway, so again, this is my my crafty journal, kind of where I'm keeping track. This was my Miss May mystery knit along that I did this past summer. I've got little bits from my Stephen West Shawl Smorgasbord here. This was my, what was this called? The Sky Storm shawl. You know, and I've got the little bits of yarn there. So for those of you that were wondering, this is just kind of how I keep track of my projects. So there we go. All right, so let's talk about some finished objects. Okay, so I do have a couple of finished objects this week, which I'm very excited about. I'm really excited to show them so that I can wear them. So the first finished object these are the Hermione's Everyday sock pattern. It was knit out of Ash and Bumble yarns in her October Nights colorway. This was a sock set that she released last year. So I just followed the Hermione's Everyday sock pattern. It's one of my favorite patterns, and I think this is maybe my 4th or 5th pair that I've knit so far. It's enough texture to keep it interesting, while yet still I can knit it pretty quickly, and I love the modified Eye of Partridge heel on here with the garter edges. I just think it's beautiful. So, so I have 2 of these, obviously. I finished both of them. They are done and I'm pretty excited to wear them. So, so that would be my first finished object. Very fallish. They're still fall, you know, we're still in November, so I'm still gonna wear these. And honestly, I wear them year round, so it doesn't really matter. So first finished object. My second finished object is another pair of socks. These are the Biscuit socks, and Erica Lowder did the Hermione's Everyday Socks. These are by, I believe, Fluffy Fibers. I will put the name on the screen again. I can't remember. This is the first and possibly only pair of DK socks I've knit, will knit. I'm not a fan of the DK socks, I'll be honest. Yeah, they knit pretty quickly, but they weren't really that fast for me because knitting that thick of a yarn on such a small needle, I think I knit these on maybe a 3, to get kind of the texture and fabric that I wanted. It kind of hurt my hands a little bit. It just fatigued my hands a lot more than I expected. So, so I'm not sure that I'm going to be knitting many more pairs of DK socks, to be honest, but these are done. Again, I put that same heel in these socks. This is just my go-to heel. I love it. And so that's what I did. I also did a wedge toe, which is kind of a modification of the toe from the Hermione's Everyday. I prefer the wedge toe with the side decreases. I've tried different toes, some of the ones with like the decreases where you kind of go around and decrease every few stitches. I just don't like the way those feel on my feet. The other thing that I did was I did take some of your recommendations. You guys recommended that I try doing the garter, not the garter, the slip stitches on the bottom to see if I can get a little bit more wear out of my socks before they wear out, because this right here at the ball of my foot is where my socks wear out. So I was already kind of halfway through finished with one of my Hermione's Everyday socks, so I didn't do it on those, but I did do it on both pairs of these socks. So it's a little hard to see, but I did do it, you know, right on the ball of the foot. So we'll see. This one you can tell a little bit more with that slip stitch. So we'll see how that works. I'm interested to see. I haven't worn them yet, so I don't know if they're going to feel any different. But yeah, these are done. I'm really pleased with them. I think the colors are beautiful. So this main yarn is from Bad Sheep Fiber, and it's the Fox colorway in her DK base. And then this was just some leftover DK Madeline Tosh that I had from just kind of sitting in my stash that I used. I think this is the Dubrovnik colorway, but I'm not 100% sure. But I thought it went really well with the colors in this yarn. So those are my finished objects. Okay, so I have a few works in progress. I always have works in progress going. I have not yet ripped out my Stephen West MCal, but it is going to happen. I've had a few people ask, you know, are you really going to rip it out? I have watched a couple other podcasts, people who, you know, ripped back, tried a different color, you know, stopped after the first couple of clues and just left it at that. You know, and I thought about, you know, possibly doing some of those things, but it's just not my thing. So I would rather use that yarn for something else. So I am going to rip back, but I haven't done that yet. But I have started a few new projects, and I've also worked on a few existing projects. So the first new project that I started is the Venezia shawl. So this is one of the shawls that I shared either in my last episode or the one before that, as part of my, you know, to be knit list. This is a single skein pattern, so you're using a single skein of yarn. It's got this really beautiful texture down the middle, and then the edges is this gorgeous lace. So I did start this. I pulled out some deep stash of yarn that I've been hoarding for quite a while. This is a skein from People Who Fields, who sadly does not dye anymore, which she was one of my very favorite dyers, but she doesn't dye anymore. So this is the Glisten colorway. It was one of her Christmas colorways the last year she dyed yarn before she closed her shop. So it's a really beautiful kind of light gray base, and it's got these gorgeous pinks and purples and golds in it. And so I thought this would be perfect for the Venezia shawl because it would really highlight this yarn. So so this is what I have so far. Obviously it's not super far, but it's far enough where you can definitely see the lace starting here. And I've gotten to the point where it's split into two sections of lace now. So moving forward, you can see this is kind of that middle textured section. This is going to grow, and then the lace panels will continue up the sides. So I think it's going to be really beautiful. I did have a couple of you message me and say, hey, I just knit that, or I just finished it, or, you know, it's in my queue, I want to cast it on. So if you haven't cast it on and you're thinking about it, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful pattern. It, you know, works up really pretty quickly. I don't have it memorized yet, but it's really not hard to follow at all. So this is the Venezia shawl. This is a progress keeper that I got with one of my advents in 2020, and I can't remember who it came from or who made it, but it's just a really beautiful little floral bead and leaf here. So yeah, that is my Venezia shawl. And these little stitch markers are from a Canadian creator. I will look it up and put it on the screen here because I can't remember the name either, but they're these tiny little macarons. Aren't those adorable? And it came in like a set of 6 different colors. And they're one of my favorite stitch markers to use because they're just very lightweight and dainty and cute. And so yeah, so that is my Venezia shawl. The next project that I've been working on pretty significantly, although it's hard to see progress when you're working on the body of a sweater, but I am within about 3/4 of an inch of finishing the body. So I would say I have maybe 3 or 4 more rows to go on this. This is that Stowaway Chevron sweater that I'm making, minus the chevrons, only because, I mean, the chevrons I'm sure are beautiful in the pattern, but because I'm using this slub yarn held with Surrey, you can't really see any texture. I mean, the texture is the slub. So I left the chevrons. The chevrons run down the side, kind of underneath the arms in the original pattern by Marie Green, but I mean, you can't really see them with the slub, so I just left them out. So I've just been, let me scoot back here a little bit, knitting, and, you know, so it's about 11 inches from the split here under the arms, so I've got about 3/4 of an inch left to go, and then start the ribbing and then do the sleeves. So I'm really excited about it. I do definitely want to try it on, make sure it's the right length. And I know this will grow slightly because it is a superwash, even though it's slub and Surrey. I think the slub might grow a little bit, I don't know. But I do want to have it like a decent length. It's kind of a long sweater, and that's what I'm looking for. The rib at the bottom is also pretty chunky. It's pretty significant with the ribbing, so I think the length is going to be spot on. Anyway, so that's what, I mean, I've really been working on that. I think I was, you know, probably, I've done about 5 inches or so in the last few weeks, and it's not hard knitting, obviously. It's just you know, stockinette knitting and round. It's just you know, that can get kind of dull. So, but I am on a mission to get this done very soon because I want to wear it, and the weather has definitely cooled down here in Western Colorado. So I did forget to mention that at the beginning. I am out in Grand Junction, Colorado, and we did get our first snow about a week and a half ago. It was about a week ago, actually. And we got a decent amount, probably 2 or 3 inches. And it stuck around for a good day maybe before the sun melted it off. So just the kind of snow we like here in Colorado, right? Like, it can stay up in the mountains and it can pile up there. But when it snows here in Colorado, we like it to snow and look pretty for a day or so and then melt away. So, so that's where I'm at with this. This is yarn from Ash and Bumble. It's in her Tiger's Eye colorway, in her Slub base and her Surrey base held together. So I'm holding both of those together to make this sweater. Okay. So that's that project. Let me take a little bit of drink of water. It's been really dry here, as you know, as winter goes in Colorado, it can get very dry. Skin gets dry, throat gets dry. So staying hydrated. Okay, the next project that I have been working on, although it's hard to see progress because this thing is massive, is my half and half triangles. So unfortunately I am in the middle of a row on this, but I'm working on my half and half triangles wrap. I have done about 1.5 inches since, I mean, I don't know if I've ever really even showed you this, but I've done about 1.5 inches in the last couple of weeks. And so I'm pretty proud of that. So I'm just working, continuing on with this. It's not much to show, but I thought, you know, just for memory's sake and kind of to see where I was at, it's good to know. So I am doing the I-cord edge. So you slip the last 3 stitches with yarn in front, and then you knit them on the opposite side on that one main edge, and then on the other edge I'm doing the called for wrap and turns. So just the regular wrap and turns. I'm not doing German short rows on this. I kind of wanted the ridge that it'll make with the regular wrap and turns. So I mean, that's where I'm at with this. It's not significant progress, but this is a slow long-term project, so I'm not really in a rush to get it finished. And I did start something else that has really monopolized my time just because I'm super addicted to it. This is the Bright Flamingo colorway. It's in Linen Quill from Purl Soho, and then when I start the other side, that will be in Dandelion Yellow. So it's going to be nice and bright and cheerful, and yeah, I'm just loving it. It's very easy, quick, not quick, but it's easy, it's mindless, it's very meditative. I don't really have to think about it much while I'm working on it. Okay, so the last project is something that I've started maybe in the last week, and it's really caught my attention, and I can't stop working on it. So bonus is that it's a project that I finally decided to use my Stress Knits 2020 Advent minis in. So I've been hoarding those and holding on to them because I wanted just the perfect project to show them off because they're just beautiful. Stacy makes the most gorgeous colors, and so I've been holding on to this yarn for 2 years now, but I finally found a project that I think they're just shining in. So every year, Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade does a knit vent. She has for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. And this year she came out with her knit vent package again. And the first project that she released, she's now released 4 projects. Today she released the third and the fourth, which are a hat and a pair of mitts. And prior to that, she also released a cowl, but this is the first project. It's the Anthology throw. It is a pie shawl. So what that means is it's knit, it's a circular shawl. So you start the beginning with a magic circle basically from crochet. It's really simple. So if you've never done crochet, I wouldn't be afraid of it, but I have seen some other people who have shared kind of how to do it knitting as well. So some people have started this with double points. I just did the magic circle, and then I used circular needles and started it just like a sock. So I just split the stitches and started it knitting it in the round just like a sock with magic loop. So and then now I'm to the point where you'll see here in just a second where the stitches are all scrunched up on the needles because it multiplies pretty quickly. I think I have like 500 stitches currently on the needles, and it goes up to over 1,000 stitches. So don't let that scare you off, because really, even though it's a lot of stitches, it's mostly just knitting round and round and round and round, with a few rows here and there with some yarn overs for increases, or knit two together, you know, yarn overs for a little bit of design elements. So yeah, right now I'm at 576 stitches, and I think it ends with 1,152. So, so anyway, let me show you the progress that I've made on that, which I'm super excited about because I think it's just beautiful. And if you follow Helen, I was fangirling crazy because she not only liked my post when I put this on Instagram, she commented on my post and she put it in her stories. So, I mean, that's a pretty big deal, you know. So, so as you can tell, it, you know, quickly outgrew my needles. I haven't decided if I'm going to try to get a longer set of needles. These are knit on a size 6, so 4mm. And I think this is probably a 32-inch cable. So I don't know, I might try to get like a 40-inch because, you know, 1,000 stitches is quite a bit. But here's the middle, or where you started out. It's really beautiful. You can see there's a little bit of laddering here, which I think will block out once I finish it up, where I did the magic loop at the very beginning. But it starts with this circle here. It's using a magic circle crochet cast on. And you can see there's kind of a hole in the middle, but when you pull the yarn that, you know, you started it with, that hole gets much smaller. It's just I haven't sewn in this end yet, so it, you know, it kind of loosens up every once in a while, and I just yank it back together. So as you can see, it's it just kind of goes in this circle, and there's knits, and then there's yarn overs to make these beautiful eyelets, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And I started with this gorgeous color, and I don't remember the names because it was over 2 years ago and I don't have a list of them anymore, but I'm doing a fade. So I kind of pulled out all of the yarns from that advent, and I substituted a few for my stash that I felt fit better in with the flow of the colors, but for the most part, these are all from that Stress Knits advent. So it starts with this really beautiful kind of creamy white with taupes and that sort of thing, and then it moves into more of the pinks and then peaches. I've got yellow here. The next color, which I've just added in, you can barely see it here, I'll hold it up, is this. So it's kind of like a multicolor, again, off-white, but it's got some peaches and some golds, oranges, a little bit of purple in there, which is super fun. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And I'll put a picture up here of the whole fade that I took before I started the project, so you can see how the colors are going to play out. But that's currently where I'm at, and it's just a really, I can't stop. I just want to keep going, and I want to see the next color and the next color. So it's been so basically I tell myself, you put in a color, Erica, you put in a color, and then you work on something else when you finish that color before you put in another color. So that has been working because I have been making progress on some other things, obviously. And it's getting to a point now, it's not very portable. Like, it's not something I'm going to obviously put in my purse and work on, you know, if I'm sitting in the car or whatever. It is still pretty easy to carry around just because it's the minis and I can wind a mini anywhere. So I just, have a few in my bag to kind of continue on with as I go. When I run out of one mini, I'll add another. So that's currently kind of where I'm at, and I'll continue to share that progress with you. I don't think it's going to take me very long to finish this, even though it's got 1,000 stitches, because I can't stop knitting on it. And I could definitely see making another one of these, possibly with one of my advents from this year, which I'm going to share with you here in just a second. So I think that's kind of a perfect segue to take you into my add to cart section. Okay. Look at that. Barn owl. That'll be my next tattoo. I'm gonna get a giant barn owl somewhere on me. I currently have just one butterfly. It's in the middle of my back, so I honestly tend to forget it's even there. But I do have plans to get a very large barn owl in flight tattooed on me. Okay. Add to cart. So I want to start with my Halloween countdown. So if you follow me on Instagram, you saw me, I tried to post these daily, or if not daily, pretty close to daily. And these are, it was a 13-day countdown from Dragon Horde Yarn. She did several this year for the Halloween season. I chose the Which is Which countdown. And honestly, I'm not going to go through every single color. I'm just going to kind of show you them in bundles so that you can see kind of the color story. They're these really fun, moody, dark, for the most part, dark colorways. They were all kind of named after different types of witches. So like this blue-green one is Sea Witch. Super fun. So if you want to kind of get more details about all of the different colors, I took pictures with them each day and put them on my Instagram. So that's kind of the first bundle. And then the next group here, I'll hold up. Here. So here's the other half. So there were 12 minis. And there were also some Progress Keeper charms, which I forgot to bring down, so I don't have them. One of them was a little Halloween sweater, like a black sweater with a pumpkin on the front. One of them was a witch's hat, and one of them was a little potion bottle. And Tristan of Dragon Horde Yarns made all of them. So she started to make polymer clay, I believe, progress markers and stitch keepers. So some of those were included in my advent. I will say one of my favorite colors from this Halloween countdown is this one, and it's called Swamp Hag, which that name is just fabulous. But I loved kind of all of the different colors in here. So on day 13, which was October 31st, Halloween, was the final main skein. So you get a full skein, and it's just kind of brings all of those colors together. So I have a couple of things, ideas in mind that I'm thinking of using these minis and then this full skein with, and one of them is, and I'll share a picture of it here in a little bit when we talk about my to be knit section, but it's the Quadrophenia shawl that Kate Jones just released. Kate Jones from the Bakery Bears. I'm considering alternating this main skein with the minis to make that shawl, so that's a possibility. There are also a ton of other advent projects that these could become. And I also have kind of my sights set on doing a crochet granny square. I've already done a granny stripe crochet, but I'm thinking of doing a granny square crochet blanket. And so these could also make a really amazing granny square with some other colors added in. So that's also a possibility. Okay, so that was my Halloween countdown from Dragon Horde yarn, the Which is Which calendar. I've had a lot of happy mail lately, and it's been much welcomed because it's just a crazy season with work and everything else. So I did participate, I'm gonna call it participate, in the pre-order from Woolberry Fiber Co., who is one of my all-time favorite dyers. Her yarn is not easy to get a hold of. It's much coveted, and she did a release of her Garden Walk collection, and I honestly could have ordered every color in that collection, but I didn't. I controlled myself slightly. So I was there like ready to order when it opened, and I was actually able to put in 2 different orders within the time before it sold out, and it was up for quite a while. I think it was up for like a whole day before she closed it. So they took a lot of orders. They dyed a lot of yarn for this update. So I wanted to share what I got. So one of the first things that I ordered was her bee butt colorway. I got this on her tweed base because hello, look at this. It's amazing. I actually ordered 3 skeins of this. I have plans. I think it's going to make a gorgeous shawl, and that's kind of my plans for it. I think I'm going to make a shawl with this. I just think the colorway is amazing. However, I also ordered 2 skeins of the bee butt on her Surrey base. So I'm considering, I don't have to use them together. Honestly, I could use the Surrey with something else. So I haven't decided whether I want to try to find a pattern where I can use both together. I almost feel like it might be too much because I think the tweed is really the star in this skein. And I'd like to make that a feature or focus. So, but I do have a couple of skeins of this bee butt, and I feel like it's neutral enough that it would go with other things. And so I don't necessarily have to pair the 2 together. But I got those. I also got her bouquet colorway, and this is on her 100% superwash merino. So she calls it her berry merino, and I just think that this is stunning. I got 4 skeins of this for a sweater. I don't know what sweater I'm going to do yet. I'm considering possibly doing the lace and fade from Hohi because I also got 2 skeins of it on the Surrey. And I think it would be plenty to do with 4 skeins of the main and 2 skeins of the Surrey to do the lace and fade, but I do need to do a little bit more research on that. If not, then I will look at some other options. But again, I don't have to use the Surrey per se with the main color, so I could just do a sweater out of this. I may also change my mind altogether and do a shawl because I think this would be beautiful as a shawl, and it could be a Bennett Sisters shawl. And if any of you have ever done that one, I don't remember who the designer is, but I might put it below. But the Bennett Sisters shawl is half in just regular merino, and then the other side you hold the merino with like a Surrey or a mohair, and it just muddles it or kind of just softens it a little bit. So you've got 2 sides. I made one of those a couple of years ago with Woolberry in her orange blossom colorway, I believe, for my sister. So that was gifted to her. So that was my first Woolberry order. However, there was one color from that update that I absolutely had to have, and that was the color that I went for first, and it was her heirloom color, and it was based off of an heirloom tomato. But I do have some other things in here as well. So I thought, I'll just kind of share that with you, and we'll open the box. So it came obviously packaged up in a nice, lovely box. with the paper. Whoa, excuse you. And it's, this is the heirloom colorway, but I also got a couple other things, so I'll share those with you as well. So I did order one sock set. This is Graham's Garden. It's her berry sock, and it came with this Graham's Garden, which is glorious. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, I should have ordered more of that too. But you know, I don't think this is going to be socks, to be honest. This color is too beautiful, so it's very likely that this will go into a shawl of some sort, because I can't use this in a pair of socks. While it would make beautiful socks, and I love making socks, I wear through my socks pretty quickly, so it's very likely that this will be used in a shawl. It also came with this really beautiful mini, which is this really deep plum purple color. So that's the Graham's Garden sock set. I also ordered her Burrow colorway, which is also fabulous. It's got gorgeous colors here. Little speckles of black. I got 2 of those in her Berry Merino. So again, 100% superwash. And 2 on the Surrey base as well. So these are definitely going to be a shawl, most likely with it held together. But you know, it's beautiful. Look at that. So that's the Burrow base. And then here you can see, this is the heirloom colorway. I got a sweater's quantity. I absolutely knew I wanted to make a sweater with this yarn. I got this in her Berry Natural, which is 100% non-superwash wool. It's got a beautiful twist to it. The colorway is just really nuanced and beautiful. And I also got it on the Surrey. I will be holding these together, and these will either become a Felix or a Whitmore sweater. I am leaning more towards the Whitmore because I just think that that pattern with the lace yoke is gorgeous, and I think it will really show off this yarn. But we shall see. So this is the heirloom colorway, again, from Mulberry. Here's the Surrey. Matches my nails. Okay. So that's my pre-order. I'm super excited about that and pleased with it. And I can't wait to start making things with it. Now, I also ordered quite a few advents this year. I ordered them over the course of the year. They were kind of treats to myself as I was working, and you know, honestly, it's benefit of being single. Not having any kids. So, you know, that does allow me a little bit more budget for yarn. However, I did go a little overboard, but you know, it is what it is, and I'm pretty excited about it, so I'm not sorry about it at all. So I have gotten 3 of them. I still have a few more coming, but you know, I also love the fact that I can support small business indie dyers, and so when I can, I will. So the first one that I received, which I'm really excited about, is the Knitty McPurley Advent Calendar. Knitty McPurley, she has her own podcast. She's been around for a really long time. It's Devin. Her name is Devin. She's from Knitty McPurley. I love her podcast. She always does a section on like a word of the week and she talks about the history behind the word and really goes into it. And that's just, I just kind of love that history. So this calendar is a DK calendar. So they're all packaged individually. It's only the minis, so it does not have a full skein, but it did come with 3 different patterns to use. They're all accessories patterns, and they kind of guide you through using the different yarns in the different accessories. So I don't know if I'm going to use them in the patterns that she provided. I kind of want to open them up first to kind of see what they look like, and then I'll decide. But it is a DK weight advent, which is the only advent I got that's DK. The rest are fingering. She did send some of her wool wash, which is pretty exciting. This is forest pine and mistletoe. And there's this little bag where she instructed us to keep track of our scraps if we're doing the projects along the way. So we'll see. I mean, I could definitely use some more accessories. I think it's a cowl, a pair of mitts, and a hat. So I may just knit along and see. But I have some other things coming along as well. And I will be opening these up during December. I had thought about maybe doing some Vlogmas, but I am going to be traveling the first full week of December, and so I won't be home. So I might have to do kind of an intermittent Vlogmas here and there to kind of share what's going on. So the next advent I got is from Beehive Yarns. I've been coveting her advents for quite a while now, and this year I just decided I was going to go ahead and order it, mostly because I love the inspiration behind this. It's called A Year at the Cabin. It's inspired by the Little House books by Laura Ingalls Wilder, and basically the colorways are going through the seasons. So there's I believe 6 colors for each season, starting with spring. Came in this beautiful keepsake box. Isn't this gorgeous? With a little magnetic locking closure, and then inside are all of the goodies. So there's colorway names, which I'm super excited to kind of see what those are. And I think this one I'm going to actually keep in this box and take out as the days progress. Some of the other ones that I got, I think I might string up. This one did come with a full skein for the last day, and then it's got all of the little packages as well inside. This is just beautiful. It's beautifully packaged. The numbers are gorgeous. So they're all numbered, all ready to go, and I'm so excited to open these up. So this is the Beehive Yarns, and I will share them with you, so you know, you can kind of see what came out of all of these as well. So that's my Beehive Yarns advent. So excited about that one. And I'm super excited because it actually didn't get lost. So I ordered my Nora George advent last year, which I love, and I made a beautiful project out of it at the end, but I didn't get it until January because it got lost in the shipping system somewhere, to no fault of the dyer. She shipped it off when she shipped everyone else's off. Mine just didn't quite make it in time, but it was actually okay because I got to open them up in January, and there was a little extra extension to my holiday season. So I got that one. I will admit I have one coming from Dandelion and Dogwood that I ordered. I'm really excited about that. And the funny thing is, my mom also ordered me that as a gift. So we've decided to just kind of keep our advents. She's going to keep hers and I'm going to keep mine, and we'll just kind of pretend like it was a gift from each other. So, but I'm excited about that one too. That one is inspired by roses, and who doesn't love roses? And then the other one, let me grab it, that I got recently, actually this one and the Beehive Yarns came on the same day, so happy mail indeed. This is from Viking Fiber Co. out of Denver. He is one of 4, I believe, dyers who contributed to this advent, and they all got together. So I want to make sure I've got it right. 5 dyers. So Bad Luck's Designs, Kate of Bad Luck's Designs, Meadow from Spindrift Yarns, who is out of Uray, which is right near me. Kyle from Viking Fiber. Megan from Huck and Ray, and I showed some of her yarn in one of my first episodes. And Audrey, who's from the Conifer Collective, I also showed some of her yarn in one of my first episodes. So they're all Colorado dyers, which when I saw this advent was coming out, I had to have it because I'm a Colorado native. I'm a Colorado girl through and through, and what better way to support my local yarn dyers than to buy their advent. So what I loved too is that they all dyed their colors and then they got together as a group to put the advent calendars together. So a lot of love, a lot of time and effort into all of the advents. But this one is my Colorado adventure. An adventure. So I cannot wait to see all of the colors and how these kind of play out. So these I'm gonna string up on some string and hang up on somewhere and open those throughout the course of the month. So I have a couple more coming, like I said, Dandelion and Dogwood. I also ordered one from Lofty Loops. That was the very first one that I ordered, actually. And then I had to order the Year 6 Hogwarts Advent from Yarn Cafe Creations and Dragon Horde Yarn. So they team up together. I haven't gotten one yet. This is the 6th year that they've done it for the Harry Potter series, and book 6 is actually one of my favorite books, so I had to do Year 6 in the Advent, and it's very likely I might order the final one next year as well. So we shall see. But when I get those, I will share those with you as well. They'll probably be on my next podcast. Okay. Wow, so that was a lot that I added to cart over the last year. That has come to fruition and it's very exciting. I'm super excited about it. So the last thing I thought we would talk about are some to-be knits. So I thought I might just share some patterns that I've kind of either collected in my own collection or seen throughout the years that would go really well with an advent if you're doing an advent. If you didn't order an advent or it wasn't, something that you could do this year, you might, if you have knitty friends, you might reach out to them and see if you guys could do a swap this year with scraps. Or if you have scraps in your own stash, you could pull them out, wind up some 10 gram or 20 gram scraps, put them in some bags and pull one out each day and do a project that way. That's always super fun as well. I always love to kind of go through my scrap bin. It's always a reminder of all of the fun projects that I've done over the past few years. But I did want to share just a few patterns that could really use, their scrappy patterns that you could use advents for, that I'm definitely considering using for my advents. I'm going to probably open all of them before I make projects with them because I like to see what the colors are and how they play together. But I'm not real good at mystery projects. Let's be real. Like, I was way out of my comfort zone to try the Stephen West cal, and while I got to pick the colors, the pattern, it's just always kind of, you never know what you're gonna get. And as far as, like doing an advent project, I just really like to see all the colors together and see how they play together before I put them into something. Okay. So my to be knit, we talked about the Felix or the Whitmore that I'm going to use, my heirloom yarn from Woolberry Inn. I don't know other projects yet for those other yarns, so those are going to go in my stash, but I will be knitting them up. And I do have plans for 2023 as far as patterns using yarns from my stash, and we'll talk about that on a future episode. But these are there are 4 projects here that I thought I'd just kind of share with you today that that I've got my eye on and that I'm thinking of using. So the Quadrophenia, which I talked about briefly with the Dragon Horde Yarns Halloween set, that's the newest pattern from Kay Jones. It's a blanket or a throw pattern. It's knit in 4 triangles and then you seam them together. And I don't have a problem with seaming. I don't mind that at all. I love doing the Kitchener stitch on my socks, which is why I tend to do cuff down. And that doesn't bother me at all. So this one, I think it's beautiful. I love the construction of it. I love the graphic, like geometric kind of shape and style of it. So I definitely think I'm going to use some of my yarns for this. I just haven't decided which ones yet. But this is the Quadrophenia from Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. All right. The next one, which I also have, these are all actually from the patterns that I have in my library, is the next one is the Artist's Garden blanket shawl. It's from Nielen. And this one uses 2 strands of fingering held double, and you kind of marl them together, and you can use, scraps or advents or minis or whatever you want to make this shawl. But I think it's really beautiful. The blanket shawl, it's big. I love my shawls big. So this is definitely on my list. It's a generous triangle shape and it's scrappy, and you could, use all kinds of scraps held together. The next one is also a scrappy project. I mean, these are all scrappy. This is the Cozy Comfort Throw from Molly of the Homespun House. And it's a blanket, and you hold 2 fingering weights together. I've seen a lot of people do this where they'll use minis held with like a bare yarn or, just a solid, and they hold those together. So they have that solid color that kind of makes it a little more cohesive moving through the blanket. It also kind of marls it together. So that one is definitely on my list. And then the last one that I wanted to share with you is from Amy of Taylor S Studios. She's also one of the 2 dyers behind Dandelion and Dogwood Knits. And this is the Polesden scarf and wrap. So this pattern comes with the 2 options. You can either make a scarf, and the scarf is you alternate knitting with a fingering and then a surrey, so it's a little more lightweight. Or you can make the wrap, and with the wrap you hold the surrey with the fingering weight, and you knit that together. So I have all of that drops alpaca that I bought a while ago, and I'm considering using some of that held with some advent yarns to make the wrap. So we'll see. All right. So friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I'm sure it was a long one, as they usually are. It's been about 3 weeks, so lots of things can happen in 3 weeks, but I do hope you are all well and enjoying the festive season coming up for all of you in the US. Happy Thanksgiving coming up. That's in like 2 weeks. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have family in town. My sister and my nieces are coming, so I'm super excited about that. And yeah, so happy Thanksgiving. I don't know when the next time I will podcast, it possibly after Thanksgiving, but with the work travel, it might make it a little bit difficult. So I will try to check in here and there, maybe with some shorter vlogs in the meantime, but check in with my Instagram. I'll try to post there more regularly as well. And I wish you all just the best rest of your weekend, whenever you're watching this. Stay warm and cozy if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. If you're down in the Southern Hemisphere, I hope you are getting ready to enjoy your summer. And we will check in again next time. So until then, happy crafting. Hugs to you all. Take care. Bye-bye.